Hello everyone, welcome back to Becca's Book Nook. Today I'm going to be talking about the only books that I have ever given 5 stars, part 2. Last year at the end of July I did make this video and I talked about only I think 8 books that I had ever given 5 stars ever in my 20 years of life. I have now doubled that number just this year and it is halfway through the year only. I felt like I needed to make this video because I have added so many new 5-star reads to my shelves and to my brain, and I wanted to just discuss them all with you guys and talk about how they got that rating, how I've suddenly become not so stingy with my 5-star rankings, I guess. But I'm gonna just talk about the I think 7 or 8 new 5-star reads that I have, and yeah, let's just jump right into it. The only other 5-star read that I read last year after I had filmed that video at the end of July, it was All the Young Dudes, on AO3 by Miss King Bean. I've talked about this book a million times in other videos. It is a fan fiction about Marauders era Hogwarts. It's Wolfstar, meaning that it is Remus Lupin x Sirius Black fanfic, they're canon. It changed my life. I'm wearing a Marauders shirt right now. Anything for our Mooney. If you're an ATYD fan, comment down below. That book was obviously 5 stars for me. I fell in love with the story. I can't wait until I can eventually hopefully print it out and have it on my shelves because I'm obsessed and it needs to be showed off. Now let's jump into the 5-star reads from this year so far. I'm just gonna go in no particular order, just sort of gonna show the books that I have with me presently, and then I will talk about the other books that I have in my apartment and ones that I read online, I guess. So the first book I'm gonna grab, just because it's right here, is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, which I just read in June. One of the two. This book is amazing. It's friends to lovers. It's set in like beach house romance. Definitely pick it up if you have not. It's friends to lovers, second chance romance type beat. Really phenomenal read, and it's getting a lot of traction on all the socials now, so pick it up if you haven't already. Going along with that, I guess I'm going to talk about Love in Other Words, which is the first 5-star read from this year. It was the first book I read this year and it was 5 stars, which is pretty unreal. I have it at my apartment. Christina Lauren, go check it out. It is also friends to lovers, second chance romance, very similar to Every Summer After. They're both great summer reads, and definitely go read them if that's something that interests you. Next up, I'm going to talk about The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which is by Mackenzie Lee. This was an unexpected 5-star read for me. It is great LGBTQ representation. It's an adventure story. I wouldn't call it fantasy, but there's some like magical sort of sciencey type stuff going on. It's set in like the early 1800s, I think, and it follows Monty, and he is in love with his best friend Percy, and he ends up sort of on a mission with him and his sister Felicity when they're on their travel year, and Monty gets them into some trouble. It's a very emotional read. It's really about finding yourself and realizing that you're worthy of love. It's really emotional, really great book. I would definitely pick it up if that sounds interesting. Next up is my most recent read, which was Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This book was another one that I was not expecting to give 5 stars to. It is Academic Rivals to Friends to Lovers, which I've never read before and I was obsessed with. This story takes place over the course of one day, which is really cool. I really loved the writing. It was beautifully well written. I loved the banter between the two main characters and just everything about it. It was really cute, and it took me right back to high school, which is I actually enjoyed doing for once. Next up, we have 3 books that I have also talked about several times before, but it is volumes 1 through 3 of the Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman. These are graphic novels. If you haven't heard of Heartstopper, I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but they're graphic novels. They are LGBTQ representation again, that follows Charlie, who is out at his school, and Nick, who he falls for and doesn't think he has a chance with, but then Nick realizes that he's bisexual, and him and Charlie start a relationship, and They deal with lots of issues in the relationship, but once again, it's about finding yourself, self-acceptance and love, and it's a beautiful story. So go read that, and then you can go watch the show on Netflix, which is phenomenal. The next 5-star read I want to discuss is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, which I held off reading for so long because I've never really liked the Iliad story, or like the story of Achilles. It's just never really interested me that much. As much as I love Greek mythology, that's not one of the stories that piques my interest. But I did finally give it a listen. I listened to the audiobook and just spent the last like 2 hours of the audiobook crying my eyes out, because it's just so emotional. It's so beautiful. The words that Madeline Miller comes up with to describe an event or quotes that the characters use are just so insightful and beautiful, and it really makes you think and it makes you cry. And it was a phenomenal book. I've recommended it to a bunch of people. My roommate and I sort of listened to it at the same time, and we just cried together. And even though I knew what was going to happen at the ending, it still got me, and it was wonderful. So automatic 5 stars the second I finished it. We then do have Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey, which is the 3rd book in her Hot and Hammered series. I read all 3 of those books this year, but Tools of Engagement is the only one that got 5 stars. The other 2 were like 4.5, I think. This one was amazing. I loved Bethany's story with Wes. It's been a while. I've read a lot of books. Bethany and Wes were really cute together. I liked that it was sort of enemies to lovers, not really like younger man, older woman by like a couple years. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I loved seeing Bethany. Bethany had like a very a need to prove herself, lots of pressure on her shoulders, and I liked to see that she actually calmed down in Wes's presence, which is a really big feat for her. And I thought it was just a really beautiful story, and I loved it. And we do have Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which I have discussed many times on this channel already, but it is her newest release. It is also sort of enemies to lovers, not really though. It's just sort of like they met one time and got off on the wrong foot, so now they think that they don't get along, but they're actually like literally perfect together. Charlie Lastra is phenomenal, amazing man, like dream man. And Nora was great too, so it was just a great story. It was very close to People We Meet on Vacation in my ratings. I loved them both. I mean, they're both 5 stars, but People We Meet on Vacation pulls ahead by like that much. And the last new 5-star read this year was Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. I talked a lot about that book in my Let's Talk About Lynn Painter book talk. So if you want to hear more in-depth rating of that book, you can go ahead and watch that video. I will link it above. This book was amazing. Lynn Painter is a great writer, better than the movies. Her other book is on my first video. She just has a way with words. She writes really great, complex characters, and I enjoy everything that she's written. So those are all the new 5-star reads from this year. That's like a lot. I think that was like 10, maybe more than 10. That's insane. I'm either reading like really, really great books, which I am, or I'm getting a lot less stingy with my rankings. I think it might be the latter. It's both. It's both. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a phenomenal rest of your week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!